Students, this is one of the last few tutorials we'll do, and this one I thoroughly enjoy. It's got to do with space planning and your structure. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so one of my favorite things that I like to do is if I know what my orientation is, let's just do this. Say, for example, I've got a particular kind of orientation that I want to work with. Because I want to, maybe for example, I want to work with the contours that are running in this direction. But I know that my north is over here, so whether I'm slightly off or not, it's fine. What this angle really just means is by the time the winter sun hits my building and I do a series of louvers this side, I know that I won't get any west sun coming in if I change it slightly. But one of my more favorite things to do is kind of using the floor plate for structure, to place structure in it that can help me devise separate spaces. So for example, I can earmark that as a concrete column. What that means structurally in terms of its cantilever is if this was 7 and that's 1 or even 2/3, what that means is that this structure, if I were to draw it in elevation or longitudinal section, is that this structure, that's the natural ground level. Let's just delete some of these lines that don't look so good. And do this. That was my contours. This now becomes my structure. I can even take this further. And if I had to build this into something slightly thicker and have it either with ventilation built inside of it, what's great about that is if I had a toilet facing that way with a basin with a door, I've had a good view of that, north view from the toilet, and I could have a kitchenette sitting behind that wall if need be. And what's great about this is that I can actually place all my services inside of that concrete wall. So that's quite an interesting thing that I enjoy doing. And then in order to support the other side, I can either make this the whole other wall, so I'm pretty sure I can support this whole thing like that. Alternatively, I can put 2 small columns in here, which means that my beams are going to run like this. And this will all be cantilevered, which is fine. That's one scenario. If you're doing something, for example, if you've got a structure and say that structure is the staircase, like that, you can also perhaps use a bridge and then use a building. What could happen is that this could be quite a strong structural element. To stabilize it, this could be the structure. Let me just make this pen a bit thinner. If I had a structure, it's not too thin. Staircase. This thing was, perhaps if this was the structure, that's a piece of concrete. You could also have concrete like that and brickwork in between. And you could have beams below it, and you could brace it on the top. So this was the structuring element, although not supporting. What you can do is you can do something very interesting like this. And what one could say is I can put a column over there, because it just feels kind of natural, and say my primary view is that way. So now I've got a column over there. Perhaps if this was a column over there and about 8 meters away, I've got another column over here. I could run my beam all the way underneath here, along that wall, the edge of the slab, like that. But notice that it's not touching that round column, but perhaps we can make it so that the structure actually has a drop cap over there. So that could work quite well. And then you have a beam running it. This back wall could act as a backbone. So you have a structure like this, like that. And what's happening is you've got concrete beams running like this and running back to each other like this, with a column down there, and then likewise for the next floor. So it's kind of like a triangle in essence. But you might not want that beam to sit on that corner like that. In that case, you could pull it back. And you could run it maybe further away and maybe coincided with that column like that. Which means that all of this is going to be cantilevered. Let's come back over here. You can perhaps put another column on that corner. You can even put a column on the outside here. And then expose that beam coming back here. Pull this column back here. So that's another exciting option. Other type of scenarios, for example, if you had a floor plate, say a square floor plate, and you wanted to put a column in a corner like this, of course this breaks up the space completely. Say for example you wanted all of this to be cantilevered. You have to make sure that you spatially make that work and coincide with that structural floor plan. So instead of doing that, what I would have probably done, instead of making the column like this, I would make a column perhaps lengthwise like this. what that does is that it funnels your view to the outside if that's north. Then I would line this up with my furniture. So if this is a big desk with a sink, and I've got some lab materials here with some desks at the bottom, this element would essentially look like this. And then you've got a desk in the middle. It frames the desk. You can have drawers, you can have openings. You can have drawers, so you can sit here, you can work, and you can have the view as well. And notice that you can pull this back to that distance, and perhaps there's a horizontal louver that's pushed out on the top that stops the north light from coming in, and you can then either pull this column out like this and this column out like this. You can make a circle if you want to there, but say for example I'm doing that, and the reason I'm doing that is because I want my staircase to sit inside of that like that. So I enjoy lining my stairs up with and furniture up with columns and so on, and so it kind of makes a three-dimensional frame. So that's where my beams would end up going. So quite nice and controlled. And then I could either push this maybe a bit further in. I can pull a piece of glass out of here. That glass can be a door that opens this way, and I could have a balcony balustrade on this side, and the same like that with a door. And I could have either a nice round table in the middle where I can sit and do other stuff, and I can perhaps put another piece of glass here with a door inside of it and a door inside of it, and then this can be my balustrade, something I can walk out, and I'd put a piece of glass here. So if this is my predominant place of working, I've got this amazing view, I can come back to this desk. It doesn't have to be round. That desk can sit against, I can have a central desk like that. I can put brickwork over here because these are my east and west sides, and I want to limit that. And if I've got sun coming in over here, I can deal with that with some kind of louver system. Like ablutions, for example, at the bottom of that. If that was my floor plan, I could copy it and then say, well, this is my kitchen, where I've got a sink. I'll line my sinks up, run the services in that concrete column. That's my kitchen. That's my cups. That's my window. And this is my meeting room. So if I do this, my staircase would come in from here. And I could now take what's nice about this is that I can now, what was the top was these little ears that you could pop out onto balconies, now becomes toilets and maybe cloakrooms on this side. What I can even do is, if I need a private meeting space, I can maybe bulge this out a bit as this drywall, and I can put a round table in there, and that can be my meeting room. I can have a door there and a door there, and there can be my staircase. And if I start looking at my details, I can look at concrete shelves, my fenestration, and my slab can be cut back. And then inside of this, because this element is this element on top, and then it pops back out its ears. And say I get a roof element cut out. And I'll make this part of my garden. I can maybe change the form of this. It can either be in, I could put my water tank at the bottom if I wanted to. My water tank. And my concrete columns. And I could extend some of these things. I can put another shelf inside of that. Part of it I could grow some creepers on there. There's a million different iterations I can do. My lab space. Okay.